If it takes you 60 days to respond to an online invitation to connect, do you really add any value to that connection? You're listening to Idea Charger Radio. Hey there, Success Chargers. It's Scott Cooksey, and welcome back to episode 3. Hey, let me kick things off today by first saying thank you. A sincere thank you from me. We are already at episode 3. I know, it just seems like we just started, and we really have. We've not even scratched the surface of where we're headed, but something has already started to happen. I've already started to see our subscription numbers pop up on the podcast, and that tells me that you are out helping us spread the word. So thank you very, very much for your support. I hope that if you are really enjoying this and letting people know, that you'll take a minute, stop by iTunes or Stitcher Radio, wherever you heard about us, drop off a 5-star review and let us know what's going on. That really helps us out, because the more people we help, the better quality stuff we can dig into and really want to make sure that we're getting you some value here. Also, if there is a topic that you'd like to hear us cover or some sort of a question, and again, we want these typically to be around the idea of connection and how you leverage that to increase your success. Certainly send us your thoughts, your comments, your questions to podcast@ideacharger.com. So let's go back and reread the quote that we kicked off with today. If you take 60 days to respond to an online invitation to connect, you have little value as an on-demand resource. Let me share with you a few statistics I found about sales. And the reason I bring up sales is because, let's face it, if you're in business, you're selling something. It could be a product, it could be your service, it could be your expertise. But take a listen to what I found here. Salesforce.com reports that 58% of customers feel a stronger connection with companies who communicate on social media. 98% of sales reps with over 5,000 LinkedIn connections meet their quota. That comes from salesbenchmarketingindex.com. And InsideSales.com indicates that salespeople who make a touch point with a prospect on LinkedIn before cold calling are 70% more likely to organize a meeting. Now, those are some of the positive notes. Here's a couple of other ones that I thought were pretty impressive. HubSpot.com, another great resource, indicates that 79% of marketing leads are never converted to a sale. And here's the one that blows me away. 91% of customers are happy to give you a referral, but only 11% of salespeople actually ask for them. Wow. So let's go back to the quote. Look, there's a lot of platforms that you might be on out there. Facebook, I tend not to connect as much with people that I don't personally know there. But I'll be honest, over the years, there have been a few of you that have probably crept in. And if you're listening today, thank you for your support. For Twitter, I often don't know the people that will follow me there. In fact, some of the people that follow me, I don't even know why you do. I think somebody's probably duped you into buying their how to get you 5 million likes for $12 by joining my Twitter account. If I can't figure out the connection or why your message might be compelling for me to follow, I'm probably not going to follow you, especially if your description of your Twitter account says, like me, pay me $29 and I'll get you 5,000 more followers. I don't want 5,000 followers. In fact, today I was listening to a podcast on the Tim Ferriss Show. Tim puts out a great podcast with a lot of really interesting information. He goes really deep on a lot of stuff. But it's interesting. He was talking today. He said, look, you really only need 1,000 people that care about what you do. And that's probably true. If there's 1,000 people that really get you, that's better than having 1 million people that follow you that are never going to buy anything from you or really care about you at all. LinkedIn is one of those places, though. A lot of people connect for business. Now, I used to be a pretty big shouter from the rooftops of, listen, LinkedIn is where you got to be to connect business-wise. And I still think that's true. There's some great folks out there like Bryn Tillman who talk a lot about how to leverage LinkedIn to get some good stuff going for you. If you haven't checked out Lynn's work, you'll want to make sure that just Google her. You'll find her. She's out there. She's got some great stuff. What I want to talk about today is why it matters that you respond to people. A while back, somehow I ran across a big long list of people that I knew. And it was probably, maybe I got lucky one day and pulled a bunch of emails off of Facebook. Maybe there was a time I could do that. I don't remember exactly where the list originated, but I went out there and I sent a message to all of those people saying, hey, I'm on LinkedIn. Let's get connected. Let's go out and reconnect because I want to see what you're up to. Because I found that I knew a lot of people personally, but might not have known how I might be able to help them from a business perspective. And sometimes, if you don't offer, people don't know how you can help them. In fact, a lot of times you will see an opportunity to help someone else out much faster than they'll get there on their own. So what was helpful for me was to see how many of those people I could connect with on LinkedIn, see where they're working these days. And now I have a better idea of who my contacts really are. But something else has started happening. Over the last few months, I've started getting a lot of really random people that want to connect with me. And I'm going to be honest, folks, if you're one of those people and I don't have any idea where we could have met, I'm probably going to leave you out there in the, I don't know if I'm going to accept you or not, because I tend to put some value, real value on my LinkedIn connections. So here's a tip. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do this. Don't just do the automatic click here and you can connect with this person. I want you to go to my profile, click on the button where you ask to connect with somebody on LinkedIn and write me a personalized message. All you have to say is this: dude, I'm loving your podcast. I'll accept you. It's that simple. Okay. Just let me know what the connection is, because I get a lot of stuff. And I'm going to be honest. Some of the pictures a few people have put up and some of the really sketchy backgrounds they've posted have led me to believe that the spammers have found their way to LinkedIn. Now, I don't think they're as pervasive there as they might be on a number of other social media platforms, but I'm pretty sure there was someone who was probably more interested in selling me their personal services than they were in actually trying to connect with me for any legitimate business venture, if you know what I'm talking about. Those folks get unliked, unfriended, unconnected, blocked, reported. If you're one of those scammy, just sleazy people, I don't want to hear from you. You're not the person I'm looking for. I'd rather have a tight network of people that really, really care. Now, I am exploring a few places where we could connect online, because I understand that that several of you that are listening to the podcast are looking for more ways to connect. As I mentioned earlier, certainly feel free to send any questions, comments, topics, things you want to hear or talk about to me at podcast@ideacharger.com. But I would rather start building an opportunity for you guys to connect with one another. So I'm considering whether or not I get back on the Facebook wagon and do a private closed group just for listeners of the podcast. If you think that that's something that you'd like to do and Facebook is your platform, I am a member of a couple of closed groups there, and I'll tell you what, they are really awesome. So we're going to explore that. And then the other platform probably it will be for LinkedIn. And we'll look at a private group on LinkedIn. I think that one probably makes more sense. The important thing is that it will be protected just for people like you, people that are those square pegs that somebody keeps trying to jam in a round hole. You think a little different about the world. Maybe you're managing a group of folks, but you see more potential than maybe even your own company sees in that group of people. And you want to look at things a little better. Let's build you a like-minded community of people. What do you say? Right? So let's get on board with that. My comment here about if you take 60 days to respond to an online invitation to connect, you have little value as an on-demand resource. Let's go back and look at the numbers. 79% of marketing leads never convert to a sale. These are people with a casual interest. Now, HubSpot, I'm sure, has done some great work there. What they're trying to sort of illustrate for you is a statistic that really backs up their business model, which as let's get rid of the tire kickers. Let's find the people that are more serious. But they also recognize, and they have a fantastic platform that can be used to really nurture those people who might be tire kickers today, but down the road could be legitimate leads. We'd rather see you focus the 21% of your time, or your time on the 21%, of those marketing leads that could be converted to a sale, that we want to get there. But Here's the deal. You've got to be connected to people. 58% of customers feel a stronger connection with companies who communicate on social media. Now that's Salesforce.com. I don't know exactly the statistic, but I have heard from a number of sources, and it seems like that anecdotally this has fallen to be true, is that the old adage of people do business with people, not with companies, probably still falls true. Particularly if you're in a service-oriented industry. I spent 13 years in banking and financial services in an earlier part of my life, and I will tell you that cold calling was not something I ever did. Never. Not once do I remember dialing for dollars. Now, there are plenty of people that have done it. They've been successful with it, but I took a different approach. I took an approach that said, look, I want to be deliberate. I want to be smart, and I want to build a book of business. Look, as a financial advisor, true story. Find 200 households. 200 households. Now that means you may have multiple accounts in every household. But if that's your world, 200 households of people that do have investable assets. Now these are people with, some reasonable amount of assets, but that's about all you can actively manage. Everybody else, I'm not saying turn the business down beyond those 200 households. What I'm saying is you may need to drop them in another bucket. There may be a way that you can more automate or provide a simpler level of service for those people so you can still service them. I did that very successfully and in a market that started at a very difficult time after 9/11. From September of 2011 until about May of 2004, I quadrupled a business at a time where the market was absolutely flat. In fact, it took a big dip right in the middle. And I did it while I was also instituting a whole new business model and had really, really, really found some great success in a practice I'd taken over that had a lot of turmoil before that. That's the kind of success I want you to find. Now, we didn't have some of the tools you've got today, like a LinkedIn and Twitter and some of the other resources. In fact, I had to pull teeth to even be able to communicate with a website. And that was a compliance issue, and that's sort of unique to regulated industries like financial services and insurance. There are some better tools available now to help you with that. And I think there's a growing acceptance in that area, but you still have to be careful. But here's something you don't have to be careful about. Building connections with people. That's what it's all about. This is what separates the successful people from the folks who kind of get by. And I want you to be wildly successful. So here's the deal. When people ask to connect with you on LinkedIn, and that's a place you've built up a presence, you've gotten involved in a variety of those online groups and communities. In fact, I encourage you to do that. There's a group on LinkedIn for everybody. I like to ride bicycles. I graduated from Oklahoma State University, so there's my alumni group. There is some people that work in various industries that I'm in, and even some private groups that I'm still a part of. But we have some like-minded ideas, and I'm getting into those groups, and I'm finding that if you engage in those groups, you post questions, you respond to questions, respond to other people's questions, get in the dialogue there, then your stock as somebody who has something to offer and someone that ought to be listened to will rise. And that's what we want. We also want to make sure that if people are asking you to connect with you on various social media platforms and you have a decision to make, understand why you're making that. I'm going to suggest if someone wants to connect with you on LinkedIn, generally speaking, if you can see the connection, you met them somewhere. They were involved with a client that you worked with, someone you directly met at a networking event. That's kind of a no-brainer. Certainly you want to be careful not to let any scoundrels into your LinkedIn group. So watch out for people that look like they're obviously fake profiles. Look, if the Prince of Zamunda decides that he wants to connect with you with the promises that if you'll just help him expatriate some money, you'll get $21 million for yourself. There's just nobody else that can do it. I'm going to suggest that's probably not a legitimate profile. And I'll be honest, some of those out there that are fake are pretty good the way they're worded until you kind of watch how they behave online. So if you can do a little bit of due diligence and it makes sense for you, go ahead and do it. But here's the simplest way. Send a message. All right. Now, I said earlier, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I encourage you to do so. Send me a personalized note and say, hey, I listened to your podcast, or tell me why we ought to connect. I'm happy to do it. If for some reason you use one of the methods, because there are a few, it's like, hey, people you might know, click here. we've asked this person to be with you or to connect with you on LinkedIn. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't get to do my personalized message. No problem. Send me an email. Look, I'm probably the easiest guy on the planet to find. I have a couple of websites. But go out there to podcast@ideacharger.com and say, hey, I sent you an invite on LinkedIn. Here's a link to my profile, and include that link. I'll see that. We'll make a connection, and I'll be happy to connect with you and really appreciate your support. So listen, don't let those things hang out there for 60 days, because going back to my experiment where I sent this long list of emails out to people and invited a whole bunch of people to connect with me on LinkedIn. Truth be known, I think it was people from my Facebook profile. And I went out and somehow exported that list. I don't know if you can even still do that, but I did. And sent them all an email through, I think I loaded it into to MailChimp. Hope I didn't violate any policies, but I figured if you knew me and you were connected with me on a social media platform, that probably meant that was okay. And I would tell you that I knew 98% of the people. Look, if you ever get an email from me and you don't want it anymore, just hit unsubscribe. It's fine. You're off the list. Don't care. You're going to miss out on some really killer stuff, but I'm not going to chase you. If I'm not giving you something of value that you feel compelled to listen to, that's on me. All right. And you can elect whether or not you want to be connected with me. I'm totally cool with that. I'll never be upset. I'm not going to stalk you and send you hate mail and all kinds of stuff. Like, people do some crazy stuff. Why'd you unsubscribe from my list? Hey, I unsubscribed because you weren't adding value, and I'm okay with that. Maybe it turns out that sometimes I get off people's lists because I'm already following them on some other platforms, and I'm finding that it's just the same information showing up a different way. And trust me, I get way too many emails. So please do not add me to your email list. I will unsubscribe from it unless there's really a compelling reason. But that's not the point. I want you to find a way to collect as many email addresses as you can for people that you know. Start with your customers and clients, start with prospects, start with just people whose business cards you get. Send them a personal invitation and say, hey, I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. And let's start building your profile long before you need it. All right. And you'll find out more about people. And we're going to teach you a technique that I shared with a group, that I was in a marketing program with last year. And it was a technique that worked really, really well. In fact, we'll bring that on in a later episode, but we'll teach you how to leverage your LinkedIn connections to generate some real business. But we'll save that for a future topic because I want you coming back. So let's go back to this idea of getting people to connect with you within 60 days. I sent this email list out to a great long list of people that I knew, and an overwhelming majority of people that ultimately did respond did so within the first few days. That was totally cool. Totally got it. In fact, I think over the first week after I sent that bulk email out to roughly 1,000 people, I probably added nearly 100 LinkedIn connections for people I didn't already have. A number of those folks were already connected with me on LinkedIn, so it was a bit redundant, but thank you if you were one of those folks, and for not getting upset with me about that. And what I noticed, though, is that every day for the next few weeks, I would get a handful of people that would finally get around to opening that email and kind of check it out. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I know how much email I get, and it's hard for me to wade through all of those things, and I don't always respond. But they did, and I'm grateful for it. It was really neat, and I started learning more and more and more about people that I thought I already knew by looking at them in a different way. And I found that to be very helpful. And then finally, it sort of occurred to me that 6 months later, 9 months later, almost a year later, once in a while, randomly, I get someone that suddenly decides, oh, so-and-so has accepted your connection to LinkedIn. And I'm like, when did I even send them an invite? It was so long ago, it doesn't matter. And instantly my first response is, LinkedIn is where I typically go if I'm looking for somebody with some expertise, somebody that I need to tap into what they know. That's probably not somebody I would expect to get a rapid response from. What's the point of being on social media if you're not going to be social? So if you're not going to be active in a platform, somehow indicate that to people. Certainly from time to time, I've taken a hiatus, and the ones I've really chosen to stay engaged on, I'm there. And certainly want you to be able to be one of those folks that when people need you. If you came top of mind, I don't want you to miss that opportunity. So, all right, get out there, get connecting. Let's build up your following. Let's build your presence and your expertise online. Let's get you connected with folks, and let's make some good things happen. That's all I got for this week. We'll see you next time on Success Charger. If you enjoyed what you just heard, please post your 5-star review and subscribe to Success Charger today. Your future